Hello, how are you? It's a beautiful day, and my mom will be going back, and I know that I've not done any content with her. So I'll be asking her questions as regards to herself. How was your upbringing?
I thank God.
Firstly, your name. You have to let people know your name.
My name is Ruth Omayemi Makanjuolablessing. Ruth is my baptismal name. Omayemi is my first name. Makanjuola is my husband name, my son name. I was born in Idore town in 1959.
Yeah.
So from the family of Akibinu Adaralode. My maternal side, Betiku Ayeduni Florence, who died at the age of 38 years in 1966. I was so young when my mother died.
So you were born in 1959, your mom died in 1966.
Yes, November.
You were around 7, 8 years old. What was the experience like losing your mom at such a young age?
Of course, we were left with our dad because by that time, my mom was the only wife with my dad. When my daddy died, when my mommy died, no woman with my dad. Now when daddy remarried, we don't find it very easy because the new wife cannot accommodate us. Very hostile and sentiment with the children she brought to our family.
Okay, she came with other children to your family.
Yes.
And I remember you told me a story of how another woman had to sleep with your dad that day.
The same woman.
Okay, okay. Now, for clarity purpose,
the day that my mom was buried, that woman was brought to my dad because that was the custom of our.
That's the custom of Idonre, that when a man loses his wife, right, on the day of the burial, another woman will sleep with him, obviously, so that the spirit of the wife, according to them, don't come tormenting him. And she came with other children.
Of course.
Yes. That are not your. How many children?
2.
Okay, she came with other children.
She have another children, but it's only 2 that she brought to our family.
Okay. And she focused on her own children, yes, and left you guys.
So as time goes on, she was caring for her own
children alone.
And, yes, let us alone.
So what was your daddy's reaction towards that?
Of course, I'm not so much aware of daddy's reaction, but what daddy said is that we should go and stay with his sister at Alade.
Okay, because he does not want trouble.
Yes.
And he felt his sister would take care of you guys, yes, very well.
I and my late brother, we would trek from Ajipowo down to Alade, almost 14 miles at that tender age. So the sister to my dad that we are staying with, though she's doing petty trading. So we ought to go back to our camp, Ajipowo, to go and take food and trek to. We will go on Friday. Sunday morning we will come back to Alade to school. And the husband of the woman is not friendly at all.
So, the husband was hostile?
Yes. He told his wife that she should not give his children food to her brother's children. So the little we can brought by that time, And the little the woman will give us, that is how we sustain with it.
So what was the emotional stress like for somebody that barely knows her mom or just trying to get to know her mom to losing her mom? At first, was your mom sick? What was the circumstance around that death? Was she sick? Was she, what kind of, if she, yes, what sickness was she diagnosed with? Was she taken to the hospital?
Of course, my mom was sick for 7 years before she finally died. And those days, you know, I'm very...
She was sick for 7 years. If I'm not mistaken, it was around that time period she gave birth to you. So how come?
I was... That sickness is not so severe.
That time.
On and on and on. It's not so severe. That is what I was told. Maybe around the time she gave birth to my sister. That's when after she gave birth to my sister, that the sickness, let's say 3 years, not 5 years, 3 years, because she gave birth to my sister at UCH Ibadan. When she went there to take care of our senior brother, my mother was sick, and I couldn't recollect whether we visit hospital. The only thing I know that from one hospital and herbalist to another. So from one herbalist to another, and oh my God, it's very horrible experience with all those herbalists, because each time it flashed back to my memory, I only cry because the suffer that my mother suffered in the hand of all those herbalists.
For those who do not know, my grandmom was one of the top tailor in Idore village at that time. Booming, a young lady who is in her early 20s, going to 30s and all of that.
Going to Lagos, going to
got married to my grandfather. My grandfather was an hunter, but eventually
and a farmer.
my grandparents' family convinced my grandfather to be a farmer, helped him through and all of that. And my grandmom would go to Lagos, go to other places, neighboring country, to get fabrics. And then she sells gold. In fact, she was the first person to use machine that you will use leg to be peddling. Usually it's hand. Before, we all know that when they use hand, those ones that they carry. My grandmom was the first person to bring it to the village. How sweet is that? But all of a sudden, you know, when you see me at the forefront of equity, you know that I'm coming from somewhere. That's why I need you to hear from my mom. It's usually my grandmom. It's been dead over 50-something years, but the emotional trauma has not left us, even with the grandchildren that didn't meet her. So she does that, and I think she's still living in me, or I'm partly her, or if people reincarnate, maybe I'm her, because anything that says you suffer a woman, I totally detest it. So they start saying she has a concubine. If she does not have a concubine, she wouldn't have been making so much waves like that. Fabrics that she cannot sew, that people don't want to buy from her, she sew it, they like it, they buy it. And she was very beautiful. I'm going to put my grandmother's picture in this. Very beautiful. My grandmother's picture that I have of me of over 60 years ago. She's clean. She's clean, very beautiful with open teeth. And she's very hardworking. Women in my family are very hardworking. We multitask, we do a lot of things. And they gave her, my grandfather's family, maternal grandfather, they are Ogun worshiper, god of iron. They worship iron. And they came back and said if she was so sure of herself, she should swear before the god of iron. So there are some kola nuts and everything that's been prepared and sacrificed for days openly that might have been contaminated and all of that. She asked them to say, oh, I'm very sure of myself, I did not do any of these things. That was how she begins to get sick. Now, when we are talking about culture, I tell people often that some of the culture being practiced before were wrong. Not totally wrong. Some of them are wrong. Like some of this culture that you want to know whether the man is biological father of a child, and then you throw a day-old child in a ocean or river to swim. What does that child know? No, some of these child have escaped this, have escaped by chance and luck. Not all those child that died during that period were as a result of being paternal fraud. So, and my mom being the first girl child, she has two older brother. She has to start taking up responsibility for her mom at that age. She was born 1959 and her mom died in 1966. 1966. So she had to take up the responsibility to be taking her mom to different herbalists. Now, again, it is not wrong to go to an herbalist at that time, because herbalists were our medical doctor at that time, because we were using apps.
Hospital is very scarce.
Yes, the British colonists were just in Lagos, Lagos, Port Harcourt, and all of those key places, those states. And herbalists were people we know, we trust, to say, okay, look at what is wrong with me. What can you say about this thing? And then they tell you this, okay, this is what is wrong with you by guess. And they give you medication. I was hoping if my grandmother has been to the hospital, then probably cancer or something will have been detected. Although the possibility of knowing cancer at that time was very little. But I was very sure that a particular illness that was unknown, some of the illness that we know now that it's very serious, was one of the things that killed her. Or it might just be a tiny sickness that could have been managed. Infection that killed her. But my grandmother had to, kudos to her, she's brave to want to say, no, I did not do any of these things. And just yesterday, I was having an argument with my husband that why do you slut shame hardworking women in Nigeria? Number one thing is that even if these women were sleeping with men to get money, it's still their body. Let us also know that people have the rights to use their body the way they want, so far it's not infringing on your own rights. It's not causing you any harms. It is high time we say no to stigmatization of women, hardworking women. Come to think of it, what's so special about my body that a man will sleep with me and after having sex with me, will say he's going to give me 20 million pounds? I mean, there are so many women in the world more beautiful than me, or not beautiful as I am, outspoken and all of that. Do we think that men squander money as such? Yes, we know that some of these men that does money laundry do this because they are politicians. They have to launder their money through certain way. But it's not as much as that we see it. Women are working. Women are hard working. We should not erase that. And my grandma, my mom, I think, took a step after her mother, because my mom is very hardworking. I mean, she was a civil servant, selling kitchen utensils, selling fabrics. I mean, one of the reasons why through thin and thin did poultry farming, through thick and thin, I do not really count offense against my mom, as many people think maybe I can't against other people. It's because I've seen her energy. I see her hard work. I see her. I've seen you, mother. I see the way she worked. I see the synergy. My mom is somebody, when you call once, she answers 10 times. I mean, my mom is just an amazing, wonderful woman. Nobody's perfect. But my mom means well for everybody. And very emotional like I am. And that was why the mom died. And they have to start trekking. I am very sure my mom will have, and her siblings will have had the best education if their mom was alive. Because my grandmother, this is not say my grandmother was rich, was very rich. At that time, she was rich. So jealousy from lazy women. You see gossips from lazy women who are not ready to put in efforts. And they term people like us, oh, she talks too much, oh, she's too forward, oh, she's too this. Everybody's personality is different. I know my personality. Sometimes I try to tamper with it. But can you please spare people of how you view them because you do not have those personalities? My grandmother is very accommodating and welcoming, which I know that is a gift I have. In fact, my aunt told me, said, oh, you look so, you have a lot of attributes about, like my mom. That's my grandmother. She said, you have all your attributes speaks of my grandmother. All my attributes. And one of the reasons why I still get angry and I will not stop getting angry is because I have somebody who has been through this. And this is why I say emancipation should come. Women have the right to their bodies. They have the right to who to touch them. They have the right to say no. And what are the challenges that your father went through that time that your mom had to step in and people didn't consider all of these things to spare her and she was still killed?
It's an horrible experience. My dad, the wife that he married after my mother, they accused my mom that he have concubine. That woman also have concubine in our camp.
Oh,
the one that we have later, all of them, none of them did not have concubine.
I think kudos to my grandmother. She made sure that if spirits actually existed, she made sure my grandfather suffered that.
He suffered after my mother died.
And why do they have to say?
He lose his eyes.
Why do they have to say my grandmother should swear an oath with an infectious concussion that's been sacrificed for days openly in the open air? Why, when my grand uncle wife actually had a concubine and had a child that is not his, and my uncle knows, and my uncle knows, and because in my village it's not a death sentence. In my mom's village, that if you actually are having a extramarital affairs, it's not a death sentence. In my mom's village, as at that time, once you have an extramarital affairs, what that man that has slept with you needs to do is just to buy dog.
Yes, and give to them.
And give to your husband. So there's a penalty for that. So why do you have to go extra mile? And these people that went extra mile didn't do that for their own person. And this is it. I say all the time. Yoruba, there's a Yoruba proverb that said, dog knows how to breastfeed his own child. It is you that will throw your family under the bus that you had fought. People will always cover their own. And I say this all the time. Please, do not expect people to do what you're doing to them for you.
Don't expose your wife to outsider.
Don't expose your spouse. My grandfather at that time, I'm sure, was feeling, those days they shame women. Oh, you're men, brother. You're a weakling. You are this. You're not taking action. Being a man or being associated to masculine is not wickedness. It is not. Oh, you're not firm with your wife. You're not shutting her up. She's talking. You're talking. You're not doing that sort of thing. Being a man is not associated to being authoritative, being a terrorist. Being a man means you should be compassionate, empathetic. You should be able to sympathize. If you are authoritative, if you are a terror, if you are a basher, how will your family grow in love? Being a man is associated with being loving, being emotional, being aware of what your family members are going through. Until my grandfather died at 1997, he never stopped saying every other woman that has lived with him are not his wife. The only wife he has is dead. If only we could turn back the hand of the clock, my grandfather would have protected my mom. My grandmom has a diary that I hope to collect from my mom very soon and put it in a Ziploc and keep it for my generations, because that is the only thing I could say associates me with her. And she wrote, my grandmom was already building house. My grandfather was a farmer, although too, but he has problem with his sight. So makes my grandmom at the forefront. See, there are people that naturally you cannot overshadow their experience. Like me, I am not an introvert. My husband is an introvert. That does not mean my husband is not working. That does not mean he's not man in the house. The fact that you hear my voice often, you see me speak, does not mean that my husband is Bewudani. Does not mean he's a shame. Does not mean my grandfather was that at that time. But you know, my grandmom has a farm too, so they all go to farm. When she's not there, you can imagine things they will saying to his ear, and he wants to prove that he's man enough. I mean, my mom went through a lot of horrible experiences that she cannot say, we cannot say. Very horrible experiences. Not having a mom in her life, not having, and her father is indisposable at that time to actually really cater for them because he has an eyes issues. And now imagine the only parents they could really account out on. Even my uncles went through horrible experience. I spoke to my auntie. She did the emotion of what the outcome of whatever that has happened at that time has not left my family. I mean my mom's family. All of us, we are still feeling it. We still feel the presence of that woman to date after 56 years.
Even in her father's house.
They did speak about her. She's such a loving and caring woman. So if you see me at the forefront of emancipation of women, at the forefront saying no, this shouldn't happen to women folks. At the forefront of saying no, if my grandmom was bold enough that time, all she just needed to do is say, no, I am not drinking this concoction. I can leave. But she talked about the slut shaming, she talked about the shame, and probably I've thought about her business too, because when they begin to shame her, they would stigmatize her and probably not have business, because her business must have been patronized by rich people too in the environment.
Even all the teachers that are close to our house, they come to sew from my mom.
Exactly. So she have the was a sewing mistress. So my grandmother as at that time, you know, teachers were not common. It's not a common thing and all of that. So my grandmother, I can say at that time, was actually working for the la creme. And for emphasis purpose, Idore, as one of the largest cocoa plantation in Nigeria. So that's a major thing. So there are rich people in Idori that, as at that time, the colonists were coming to buy cocoa to bring down to travel for coffees and all of that in Idori. So she asked the la creme in a circle. So she thought about a lot of things coming together and saying, no, I need to prove my innocence, or those are innocent caused her life. Until now, nobody has come out to say this is my grandmother's concubine. And no, don't say I'm defending my grandmother, because Idoro is a small village where if you have a concubine, people knows. So today, nobody has been able to hand over somebody to her. Even when she died, if it was true, rumors will have been spreading, and it will. So please, whenever this boils down to me saying that before you accuse people, have concrete evidence. This is what I was telling my husband yesterday. I said, this Falanos case now, before you come out to tarnish people's image, because they will go to any length. I am not blaming the Falanos, because this same thing happened to my grandmother. She was not able to defend herself. Before you come for anybody, let's have our concrete evidence. And I still support the Falano to go any lengths to the end of the earth to fight for their innocence, because they cannot build a name on justice, truthfulness, and somebody wake up from the wrong side, wrongly trained, to want to bring it down. This was the same thing that somebody just wake up from her bed or his bed to start accusing my grandmother, and knowing fully well my grandmother has a lot to lose. Probably the sewing clothes that was just growing that time will have been a big business by now. My grandmother would have come to the UK or go to anywhere to learn more about her business. It would have just been a big family business by now. Let us be careful with the way we accuse people, and all is well. And do you have anything to say?
When my mother wanted to die, I was in the room with my dad and my mom. I don't know that she wanted to die. She told my late dad that make sure you take care of my children. He said severally, then he gave up.
That's another Hebrew experience. Your parent dying in front of you. What did your daddy say at that time?
He accepted me.
Well, he didn't say anything.
Nígbà tí kú ti dé.
Okay, your dad knows she was going to die. Did he cry? What was his experience?
He will cry. He now regrets. You know, these in-laws, because of envies and many things, they will poison the husband against the wife, accusing many things. The husband will not know that that is the means to attack him also. If they want to attack the husband, they know that the wife is shielding the man. Because my mom, very agile, supportive. Because I'm on the sibling of my dad. My dad is the only wedded man among them. And this
like I said, my grandmom grew from la creme de la creme. I mean, the la creme de la creme in the society. So meeting my grandfather, our family actually have impact in the life of my grandfather, which actually changed his perspective and look, which made him stop being an hunter to a cocoa farmer.
He used the best clothes during that time, very neat.
I like that my grandmother is very rich, so that she buy the best clothes for my grandfather. And people, if my grandfather comes to you that I want to date you, if my grandfather comes to you that I want to date you, you know, extramarital affairs was a thing, then polygamy was not wrong at that time. I want to date you. I like to have you as mine. You know, they will run away and say, no, I cannot match the energy of your wife. You know,
I don't want to be their slave.
I don't want to be your slave because your
because of the love between them.
Outside even love, I think the money was there, and then they feel that they cannot match that energy.
Yes.
And honestly, tell me a woman in the history of Idori that was growing at the speed my grandmom was going. So they saw the speed of that woman was going in that community. She was famous at that time. In fact, as a matter of fact, let me tell you, when I was in secondary school, and somebody said, "Oh, where are you from?" And I just mentioned my surname and then related to it. Say, I heard about this story. I heard about that woman. You know, she was number one top famous growing sewing mistress at that time. She was number one, just like we have Vicky James and the rest that time. She was number one, and you know, that time the women.
Let me do this one. When I was in my ministry, women affairs, a woman came from Nigeria, though she didn't marry from Nigeria, but she's from our streets. So when she met me, we discussed. And they told her that I'm Nigerian. Where do you come from? I now mentioned, I mentioned the name of only, oh God, I knew the woman. When I was young, that I usually come to her to learn sewing something from her. Wow. I was very accommodating. Say sorry. That woman.
We need to bring all of these people together to give us people
I don't know where she is now.
You didn't collect her number.
I want to don't retire. before I retire.
Don't worry, a proper documentation by me will be done by about my grandmother by me, by
In
people who
fact, I
know
thank
her.
God
This is going to
that
be a
she
project
left a
that I
good name
promise
for us.
you that you would know. And let us stop this stigmatization against women. And women, a woman that is succeeding is not your enemy.
Yes.
Don't feel like, I say again, dear mother, thank you, because I am so contented with whatever I have. I will be so contented that you have money. It's you that will not want to be my friend, because I will be joyful, I will be happy. Let's stop all of these things. You start feeling she's the only person. Why would she be doing like that? You greet somebody that is not in good mood, or she said, about when she give you. I can speak for myself. There was a time a lady was borrowing money from me, and every time I give her, she goes back to tell people that I'm proud. I was in Nigeria then, running my business. And then she go back to say, Blessing is proud. That every time I ask her money, she gives. Is she the only one? Because her husband is a pharmacist? Is it because she's running a business? Sometimes we are not seeing it that way. You are seeing it. Do not let your inferiority complex rub off you.
It's because of passion.
Imagine that woman, how many people she will have raised in that society to teach them sewing.
Even his sponsor, assembly in the school. And
Can you imagine? At that tender age, see, my grandmother died at the age of 38 or 39. She had already created a name that cannot, because there was no social media within our community, Idori. She already created a sound name for herself. She had already done things for herself. She was already at that age that it's very, very not common, very uncommon for women to be financially independent. She was already sending her, paying school fees for her siblings, cousins and nephews and nieces. She was already sending people to school. So you can imagine. And Madam Florence, you will forever be in my heart. I do not know you. I have not met you. I've only seen your picture. But I love you. I do want to see you once more. If time, if chance, if things are possible. You crawl so that some of us could run. I am truly grateful that I am from your lineage. I am very grateful. I do not take this for granted. Imagine a place where there was no even proper traditional media. Was not common that time to advertise your skills. And she was already making waves. She had a lot of gold when she died. She was already into her husband and all of that. Dear Madam Flores Betico, I love you. Thank you for the wonderful work you have done. And thank you for producing this dear woman who has been my source of inspiration. Anytime I want to relax or give up, I remember my mom, how hard she works. And I can imagine how hard you were working that time as a woman, which is very not common, which was very uncommon as at that time, to see a woman sending others to school, being financial. My grandmother was financially independent. She was not collecting money for her husband to send others to school.
Even in our camps, there are some women that learn from her.
And it was free.
As an apprentice.
Okay. So, in Empowered Voices, we are going to do some of this, create an aspect for her that is going to be dedicated to her to send people to go learn fashion designing. It's the skills that will give people fashion designing for young women, teenage mothers to go learn. To go learn, and it's going to be under an umbrella of Florence Betico. That name will not die. All right, so that's all my mom has to say. See you guys next episode, next time, wherever I see her, and we'll create magic together again. It's wonderful being your daughter. I'm inspired by you.
I appreciate you a lot because
I'm inspired. You are a hard worker. You work tirelessly. You need to see when my mom too is not poor. Hey, God. If only. You know this woman sitting beside me. But we thank God for everything. How people are sabotage our businesses and all of that. Even at place of work and all of that. My mom was paying for private universities for us. My mom is a wonderful woman. She's a hard worker. I know we disagree a lot of times because our character is similar. It's similar. We disagree a lot of times, but my mom, who is someone who is very humble, My mom is somebody who will go all out for you. I've seen same thing that happened to my grandmom, accommodating people and all of that. They turned their back against her and were instruments to her death. I've seen my mom sacrifice a lot for people and they turned their back. But that does not mean we will not be doing good.
Yes.
Because we are not doing it. The good that my grandmom has done is still speaking through some of us. Yes. After 50-something years.
Because whatever you sow,
you will reap. And for my look for this episode, it was just impromptu. I didn't want to just allow my mom to go
I thank you
like that
without a source of my joy and inspiration. I thank you for your supporting me. Thank you for what you have done for me, even for brought me to UK. Which in my I thank you.
So for this episode, there was no makeup, there was nothing. It's an impromptu video, not so because by the time I know I dress up, we wanted to do it last week Thursday.
Yes.
But by the time I slept, I know by the time I go upstairs there, coming upstairs, going downstairs, I would not have done it. So the focus now is on the message, not the messenger. And I'm not looking bad anyway, just no makeup and all of that. And the weather is quite dull here today. That's why we are here.
It was raining.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We do appreciate. Do not forget to subscribe, like, and tell your family member that there's a lazy housewife that speaks, that cook, talks about mental health, lifestyle, travels, and all of that. You would join me on the next episode. Okay, I don't know which I will post, but I will keep you posted as my mom goes to the airport. Bye.
Thank you.